time for the men's 400-meter freestyle, and Grant Hackett has already proven that he's one of the greatest swimmers of all time. His recent performance at the World Championship attests to that. So now it's time for the Australian to enjoy the ride a little bit more.
You sort of look at your career now and think, what can I do? Where's my potential? Where can it take me? And for me right now, it's really just, it's focusing on those things. And that's a lot more fun when you put your pressure on yourself to try and win these medals and take these titles. You almost put so much pressure on yourself that the element of fun is taken away. For me right now, it's focusing on, you know, how far my times can come down, what I can do, and, you know, whatever sort of medals come along with it, so be it. But if you've already won them, I don't think you need to keep proving yourself. So for me, it gets easier and more fun, and which allows me to swim faster, and I find that extremely motivating.
You know, through the years, Hackett has been a bit overshadowed by some of the great Aussie stars on the women's side, Susie O'Neill and, of course, Ian Thorpe. But what he did at these World Championships recently, Rowdy, just solidified himself as one of the all-time greats. First ever to win 4 consecutive world titles in the same event. Amazing stuff.
Historic. I mean, when you're talking about the greatest distance swimmer in history, there's no doubt in my mind it's Grant Hackett.
Hackett in lane 4 should not be challenged. But Clete Keller, that name may ring familiar after what he did last year in Athens, holding off the great Torpedo in that epic relay race. How does he stack up here?
He's going to be very good. This is once again sort of an off summer for Clete Keller. He just made the relay at those World Championships, didn't swim any individual events, so he's just been kind of taking it easy. But he was splendid on that 800 free relay at those Worlds last week, and they won the gold medal, the Americans did. Might be a little long for him at this point.
So there's Hackett right above him is Keller. 8 lengths of the pool. Hackett now 25 years old. Seems like he's been around forever. And the medals just keep stacking up. Just competed in his 4th World Championships. Hasn't lost, Rowdy, the 1500 since the '96 Australian Olympic trials.
8 years. That's what's just so hard to believe for me. In 8 years at any international competition, he's not lost. I mean, he's just, and in a race, the 1500, it's just hard to fathom to be so successful for so long in any event, but much less the 1500.
Took gold in this race in the 400. Now, Ian Thorpe was not there. Talked about it earlier that Thorpe is taking a breather from the sport right now.
And it's funny you mention Ian Thorpe, because after he won that 400, 800, and 1500 freestyle last week at those World Championships, all the Australian papers, every single one of them, I looked it up, and the headline of all the sports pages, remember how big this sport is, the headline on all the sports pages said, Ian who? I think they finally are appreciating what Grant Hackett is doing.
But how quickly are those, I don't want to use the word tabloid, but how quickly do they, I mean, you know, here's Ian Thorpe, the guy isn't even there, had an incredible Olympics in Athens, but, you know, they're just so quick to say he's not there, so Ian Thorpe.
But, you know, the point is, in the past, they've always said, well, because, you know, Ian Thorpe wasn't there, that's why he's so good. They finally, I think, are recognizing, saying, Ian who? You're right, Grant Hackett is the greatest, at least in those long distances.
But Ian Thorpe is the reigning Olympic champion. Hackett was 2nd, and Keller was 3rd.
Well, Hackett's the 2nd fastest performer in history in this event. Obviously, Ian Thorpe was the top 9 times in history.
Keller's got the lead there at the halfway point.
A little unfamiliar territory for Grant Hackett, with the exception of going up against Thorpe. He's not used to being right like this. I thought he'd jump on this right away, this first 100, but he's kind of playing a little possum right here.
So there's Keller just above him, up there in lane 5, and you know, this Hackett charged to the wall there and regained the lead.
Yeah, this is a good field that the Americans have thrown against Hackett. When you're talking about Larson Jensen, the silver medalist in the 1500 last summer, behind, guess who? Grant Hackett, Peter van der Kay, who finished 6th in this event in Montreal, and of course Clete Keller. You know, you've got some pretty good Americans here. They're definitely going 2, 3, and 4 right now, but Grant Hackett, like you said, Dan, just starting to inch out just a little bit at the 3/4 mark.
Hackett with a clear lead now with 100 meters left. Keller is second. And below Hackett in lane 3 is Peter Vanderkay. And those are the Americans who are right now 2-3. And then on the bottom there in lane 1, you've got Larson Jensen. So they could go 2-3-4 behind Hackett's win here.
Which is fine. That's exactly what they wanted to do. You know, not only do you make up the points that Hackett gets for Australia, but you actually get more points. 2, 3, and 4 add up to more than the first place finish. So this is exactly what the Americans did. But look at the amazing spurt that Grant Hackett had coming off that last turn there. It's just like he puts it into a completely different gear, increases his turnover. Look at the kick behind him. Watch that kick. Yellow cap in the middle of the screen. There's the greatest.
Domination continues for Grant Hackett. Below him in lane 3, Peter Vanderkay is going to finish second as Keller faded. So Vanderkay finishes second, and Larson Jensen finishes third, and Keller was fourth. So even though Hackett won the race, the Americans stack up right behind him.
Well, he's shaking his head just a little bit, saying, you know, what did I do there? And he probably didn't swim the race that he's capable of swimming. Maybe this long trip from the World Championships, just coming off of that, they didn't have a lot of time to kind of regroup, and nothing like the 400 to kind of take the wind out of your sails early on. But this last turn, he really did make a move and just punch that wall. Right, watch it right there. Already, he's a full body length ahead, but look at the turn, real aggressive on it coming off. And then that body length all of a sudden turns into a body and a half, and by the end, clearly in the lead, clearly the class of the field, and Grant Hackett, 3:45 and change, the best in this event.
So Australia wins it, but the United States outpoints Australia with their 2-3-4 finish. They get 6 points to Hackett's 5 points for the win in the men's 400 freestyle.